Imagine this, a sudden about-face in the middle of a high-stakes international conflict. That's exactly what happened when President Trump changed his tune on the Russia-Ukraine war after meeting with Vladimir Putin. But here's where it gets controversial. As Trump jetted off to Alaska for his summit with the Russian president, he made it clear that his primary objective was to secure a ceasefire. He even went so far as to warn of severe consequences if one wasn't achieved. But just hours after shaking hands with Putin, Trump did a complete 180. He took to social media to declare that a ceasefire wasn't the top priority after all. Instead, he said, the focus should be on hammering out a permanent peace agreement. And this is the part most people miss. Trump's new stance puts him squarely in Putin's camp and directly at odds with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Let's rewind a bit. When Zelenskyy last visited the White House, things didn't go so well. In a heated exchange caught on camera, Trump told the Ukrainian leader that he didn't have the upper hand and would need to make concessions to avoid total destruction. Since then, Zelenskyy and his team have been working overtime to mend fences with Trump. They've even gone so far as to agree to a deal that would give the U.S. access to valuable Ukrainian minerals. But now, with Trump's latest shift, it's unclear how that relationship will hold up. So, what's the deal with this sudden change of heart? Well, it seems that Trump and Putin saw eye to eye on the best path forward. While they didn't announce any major breakthroughs, it's clear that Trump is now leaning towards Putin's vision of a comprehensive peace agreement, rather than an immediate ceasefire. And this is where things get tricky. Secretary of State Marco Rubio weighed in on the matter, pointing out that a ceasefire requires both sides to agree to stop fighting. But as Rubio noted, the Russians just haven't been on board with that idea. And this is where the real controversy comes in. Some argue that Trump is playing right into Putin's hands by pushing for a peace agreement that could take years to negotiate. Others say that a ceasefire is just a band-aid solution that wouldn't address the root causes of the conflict. Meanwhile, Zelenskyy is gearing up for his next visit to the White House, this time with some heavy-hitting European allies by his side. They'll be making the case for further Western support for Ukraine and pushing for a ceasefire that could provide some much-needed relief from the constant Russian attacks. But why is a ceasefire so important to Ukraine? Well, for starters, it would be the quickest way to stop the fighting in the short term. Ukraine has been under constant assault since the full-scale invasion in February 2022. And any break from the fighting would be a welcome reprieve. Plus, Ukraine argues that a ceasefire would force Putin to come to the negotiating table. Without one, they fear that Putin will just keep dragging out the war, buying time until he gets what he wants on the battlefield. But Russia has its own ideas about how negotiations should go. At the Alaska summit, Putin doubled down on his favorite talking point, that the root causes of the conflict need to be addressed for a lasting peace. That includes a whole host of demands that Russia hasn't been able to achieve on the battlefield, like giving up additional Ukrainian territory and guaranteeing that Ukraine will never join NATO. Ukraine, for its part, rejects all of these demands out of hand. So, where does that leave us? Well, the diplomatic debate is now focused on whether to push for a near-term ceasefire or a comprehensive peace agreement. And it's a debate that's sure to heat up when Trump and Zelenskyy sit down for their meeting at the White House. But here's a question for you. Who's right? Should the focus be on an immediate ceasefire, or is a permanent peace agreement the better path forward? And what role should the U.S. play in all of this? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments below. But remember, this is a complex issue with no easy answers. So let's keep the conversation respectful and focused on the facts. After all, the future of Ukraine and the world could be at stake.